AIPAC had not the Jewish lobbying group, but the Pacific lobbying group of Pacific countries economically. So Xi Jinping came to San Francisco a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden, all the homeless people disappeared because Gavin Newsom decided he wanted to clean up San Francisco to impress Xi Jinping, the head of China. So what I've always suspected is that they want this homeless problem to be taking place. Like they could fix it like that. And that proved it. That proved it, that they could fix it like that. Just a couple of years ago in California, Gavin Newsom said that the state of California had a $40 billion surplus. That was a true thing. And so I've known that you could fix homelessness in the entire country for somewhere around $20 to $40 billion. And so why wouldn't he just take a couple of $1 billion and fix homelessness in his own state? And so it seems to me like the WEF and the handful of billionaires who run this country, who also run the global economy. So that's there's a scene from Network, that movie from 1974, where Ned Beatty says there are no countries, there's only companies and the global transfer of dollars. And so we're really living in that. And I think that there's and so the people in Congress and obviously the president they don't run things. They're taking orders. They're taking orders from the donor class, which is a handful of billionaires that run everything. And for some reason, they want to have an open border. They want to have us flooded with immigrants. I know why that is, but they want to keep homelessness. And there's plenty of theories why. One of them is because it's a fentanyl line. They can't go into the homeless encampments. But I think I heard a Scottish. I can't think of his name. That we just covered him. Neil Oliver say, it's there to make. I
know Neil Oliver. Yeah,
he's a great guy. He said that it's there to make people who are on edge stay on edge, and so that's why it's in every city, and they can fix it like that, and they won't do it.
Of course.
And what is your theory on why they won't fix the homelessness problem and why they won't give people a living wage and why they won't give people health care like the rest of the goddamn world? What is your theory on this?
Well, I mean, it's the same as all the things that make your life worse. Low-level crime, high-level crime is never punished, as you know. The big financial crimes are never punished. How many people went to prison after the meltdown of 2008?
Zero.
I'm just doing the math, right around zero. Right.
Well, they did find a Chinese bank. They did find some Chinese bankers in New York. Remember that? Okay, go ahead.
Exactly, but fine. But the low-level stuff they love because it makes you miserable. It makes you miserable. You expect less. You're off balance. And it's, of course, all together, it amounts to chaos. That's exactly what it is. It's chaos. You feel like things are completely out of control. When you show up, to 7-Eleven and like everything is locked, because there's so much shoplifting and you have to step over some passed out guy to get in there. And there's a crazy person screaming at you by the cooler. The net effect is to make you feel like, man, this is completely out of control. And I think this is a predicate for a change of government, the form of government. I do think that. The one thing we know they hate is the one thing they claim they love, which is democracy. They hate that. What's democracy? It's the majority kind of gets to decide roughly where we go next. That's the one thing they can't handle, because all the decisions are made by such a tiny group. And so they are working as hard as they possibly can to make us dissatisfied with what we have as a first step toward getting us to change it and to be willing to accept a much more authoritarian form of government, which is coming very soon. It's obvious. I don't want that. It's the opposite of what I want. I don't think I'm a conspiracy nut or crazy, but all the evidence kind of points that it's sort of overwhelming. Like, why else would you do this? You don't need to have any of these problems. By the way, you don't even need to go full fascist to end crime. You just need to have laws like, hey, don't steal. Stealing doesn't help anybody. That's bullshit. No poor people benefit from stealing. There are no stores in poor people's areas. You ever been to one? So it's not helping. They're only doing it to hurt. Why are they doing that? Because they plan on making a change in the way that we're governed.
You could order stuff at Amazon, see what pain it is to go to a store.
So that was the craziest thing.
Well, and there's that.
The craziest thing about COVID, as I picked up on quickly, was that I couldn't go to a local sporting goods store on the corner of my block and buy a catcher's mitt for my nephew for Christmas, but I could order one which only has one person working in it, but I could order one from Amazon, which has thousands of people working inside a giant warehouse.
Exactly.
And that was supposed to be for our safety, which, again, if you just look at it on the face, it doesn't make any logical sense. So you know you're being lied to, and you know they're trying to change the economy. And then what happened with the truckers? And by the way, the truckers were vaccinated at a higher rate than the general population. They weren't protesting medicine. They were protesting bullshit authoritarianism, and they were right. And so when I looked at the truckers, I saw white truckers, I saw black truckers, I saw native truckers, I saw Indian truckers with the beard and the thing. And then when I saw that, I was like, white supremacists, a lot of white supremacists. And and then, of course, they called them Nazis, and then they shut down their bank accounts, which was proven to be garbage. But that's what they want. That's why they want to move.
Saluted a Nazi later.
And then they salute. Then they literally they all saluted a Nazi in their parliament, and then they blamed it on Russia. I swear to God, that's what they did. So this digital currency that's coming, right? So they wanted to get you there. Now I go to places they don't even take cash, which I don't know if you look at the dollar bill, it says this is for all debts, private and public. And if you go to a store, they don't take cash. Yes. That is not a good thing, right?
No, it's a terrifying thing. And look, this is the way, you always imagine when you're a kid and you're reading about the Second World War and the rise of fascism in Europe, you always imagined that it would look like the pictures you saw. There would be guys in tight uniforms goose-stepping through your town. But of course, it's America, so nothing happens that way. Nothing is obvious. Everything is the seduction that you buy into voluntarily because it's easy, it's convenient. And what you don't realize is that you're making a bargain. And for that ease and convenience, you're trading your freedom and your individuality and your privacy and all the things that make you human. And so cash is exactly the same way. It's not like they've banned ATM machines. They're just slowly making it much less common for people to use cash, much less convenient for people to use cash. And in 4 or 5 years, no one will use cash. And so at that point, you have, in effect, digital currency. It's just kind of that simple. Because, by the way, MBNA or whoever issues your stupid credit card is every bit as tied in to the permanent bureaucracy in Washington and subject to its demands as any federal agency. So after after January 6th, they immediately got the credit card companies to send them, the FBI, the transaction records of anyone who went to a gun store in, the 15 zip codes around DC for the week preceding and following January 6th. And they complied without telling the customer. So they're giving your private information to a law enforcement agency without telling you. Now, that used to be illegal, but the Congress has made it legal, famously after 9/11. And so those are the people who are going to control the currency. I'm not sure the central bank has to issue a digital currency. I don't think it's necessary. You just get the big credit card issuers on board, and all of a sudden they'll just, as they have with dissidents over the past couple of years, no, you can't stay at Airbnb. Sorry. No, you can't transact anything over Venmo. We don't like your politics. I mean, that's where we're going, obviously, at high speed. It's not 10 years, it's 2 years.
China.
And so what they do, all they have to do, well, thank God for Barack Obama when he signed the NDAA section, I think 1021, where they repealed habeas corpus. So habeas corpus, which means you have a right to a speedy trial, and what all they have to do now is say that you're a terrorist and you don't get a right to a trial. They could give you indefinite detention. Now, let's remember, habeas corpus was in the Magna Carta. So we are operating on a liberty view.
It precedes our country.
Yeah, we're operating on a liberty view somewhere around the 1100s. That's how far back we've gone. And so all they have to do is call you a terrorist. Right. And so when people were protesting DAPL, they said they were eco terrorists. And so that all they have to do is say you're a terrorist, and they can throw you in jail indefinitely. They can shut down your bank account. They can do anything they want. And then thank God to Barack Obama. And they say Trump is the guy who's the enemy of democracy, that somehow Trump is the threat. Now, my theory is that why they hate Trump so much. By the way, you're right that they hate democracy. What's the two biggest democratic actions that have gone against the establishment in the last 10 years? Trump being elected and Brexit. And they hate both those things.
Yeah.
And they can't let people have democracy. So they do it's such a such a great. You accuse your enemy of the thing you're doing. Trump is going to take away your democracy. No, you're the one taking away my democracy. Trump is going to prosecute journalists. No, you're the one who's trying to kill Julian Assange. Barack Obama was the one who used the Espionage Act more than all the presidents preceded him to prosecute journalists. It was Barack Obama who did that. It wasn't Trump. All right. So this is the exact opposite is happening. And people, go ahead, Kurt, you want to say something?
Trump and Brexit, that was like their citizens voting for Hamas in their eyes.
That's right.
Like us in 2006.
That's right.
We gave you a vote and you voted Hamas.
You voted wrong.